Kofi Annan, let's begin with Paris and COP21, where you want governments to produce a fair and binding agreement on reducing greenhouse gas emissions. But when we think of Copenhagen, Cancun, Doha and Durban, many people have come away very disappointed. What's going to be the game changer for Paris so that the world backs off from this tipping point that you're warning of?
I think the governments and the peoples of the world have become a bit more conscious of the impact of climate change on our lives and on future generations. And certain governments, important governments, have come up with indications that they are going to work for an agreement, or they are going to do a lot in their own countries. China has come up, the United States has come up, India has, and I think these could be game changers. And in fact, we've always maintained that the big powers, particularly the developed countries, should take the lead. And they seem to be taking the lead. The US engagement is very important. Of course, the President Obama has problems with the opposition at home, but he is determined to go ahead, and that makes a difference. And quite a lot of the developing countries also realize the stake they have in working together to contain climate change, because even though Africa, for example, is responsible for about 2% of the pollution, we are bearing the consequences much harder than anybody else.
Why have we been stuck in this stalemate? Why has it taken so long for some countries to answer the call, the plea from poorer nations?
I think the attitude has been that if they act first and others don't act, they'll be given an advantage. So it became the children's game. You go first, and nobody moves. And not only nobody moves, with the call to help the developing countries, there's been lots of promises. Remember the 100 billion fund to help the poor. It's taken quite a while. I hope in Paris there will be clear indication that the fund will be set up, how it will be run. And for the third world, I can tell you, today the only promises that matter, that they take seriously, are promises which are met, not promises which are made for the press or for other leaders to feel good or for their home constituencies to think they are doing something. They have to actually do something.
Let's talk more about game changers. You've always believed in the power and action of young people. You've always been disappointed by what you say has been their exclusion from discussion and decision making. But you're changing all that now. You're helping lead Call on COP, a movement created by One Young World. Mr. Annan, what do you want young people to call for today?
I think the young people should make climate change their issue. They should insist on it. They should discuss it and help push it higher up the political agenda and keep it there. Once it's up the political agenda, the politicians cannot ignore it. But they themselves have power, they have influence as individuals. They have power as voters, they have power as shoppers. The choices they make when they go into a supermarket, which products they are buying, which companies they are supporting, and really use that pressure also to make a difference. They should encourage institutions they work in, whether it's a university or a corporation, to do more innovation in renewable energy, and really also get the community to embrace and accept the fact that the polluter has to pay. There has to be a price on carbon.
Kofi Annan, you were born in Ghana. You began your career at the WHO. Many years later, as UN Secretary-General, you highlighted AIDS as a personal priority. Clearly, health has played a huge part, not only in your working life, but in your life. What do you think it's going to take now to stop climate change, to achieve climate justice?
Justice and human rights is at the center of the climate change struggle. If we do not understand that, lots of people, particularly the poor, are going to be shortchanged. We need to help them, for example, with renewable energy. Take Africa, for example. 620 million people have no access to energy at all. And they use charcoal and polluting energy sources to cook, which kills 600,000 children a year. If we can help them deal with their energy deficit, transfer technology to them, get them to have access to clean energy, it will not only help the world, it will help the families and save these children. And environmentally, they don't have to cut down the trees for charcoal. It will be a triple win for everybody.
Your personal story is astounding. Your career has been marked by your leadership on a string of emergencies. The genocide in Rwanda, Syria, Iraq, Somalia, the former Yugoslavia, and on and on and on. Climate change is another emergency. What is the common skill set that all of these share?
First of all, you must have hope, be optimistic, and not accept defeat before you even begin. Sometimes people will tell you this is an impossible mission. Why do you take it on? But the problems are such that you cannot sit back. You have to try. When I became engaged with the Syrian crisis, quite a few friends told me, you're taking on an impossible task. I said, it may be impossible, but with so many mothers and children and people dying, how do you say no? Even if you are able to help save one or two people, you are making a contribution. So you have to have hope, you have to be persistent, and you have to understand that down the line, you will get help from others who think like it. There'll be the pessimist who will try to discourage you, but you would also find some help along the way.
I want to finish with this, because when we think of Paris, everyone is watching this city for the horrific terror attacks that occurred there in November. Mr. Annan, you're a world leader. Will your peers at COP21 be reminded of the fragility of life and act on that for climate change in a way they've never done before?
They have an opportunity. They have an opportunity, and they should seize the moment and show leadership and tell young and future generations that this is a group of leaders who did not miss the opportunity to help halt the damage that climate change is doing to our planet.
Kofi Annan, it's a great honor speaking with you.
Good to see you. And thanks for the work you do on AIDS.